Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. We're still talking security and how to defeat terror in our country today. My next guest is a trained British soldier, a fighter pilot, and a military aviation and security study advocate, and of course, AI and energy transition advocate. He was the presidential candidate of the YPP in the 2023 presidential election, and a member of the royal family in royal family of Ibrahim, Prince Malik and Ibrahim. Thanks so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time. So we're hearing now that Nigerian Air Force is deploying some aircraft in the search and rescue of those school children and people that were abducted by the terrorists in Oyo State. But what more can technology do for us in this kind of situation, especially when we are hoping that these people will return home soon? There are about 40 of them now. They're in captivity. What can those kind of fight up? Because when the abductors hear the sound of the aircraft, and you've flown several fighter aircrafts, what kind of technology can we use in safe rescue of these people?
Well, first of all, congratulations on the release of those 360 hostages in Borno State, and big congratulations to the Nigerian Army for what they've done and the joint forces. That was pretty spectacular to get that kind of number of people. You know, the CONOPS, the way we do our military activities in Nigeria is pretty much the same. It's always continued. It's nice to see that the Air Force is getting involved in a different way. But technology can help and assist. Yes, we've got satellite, we've got the ability to use space as the principal first layer of due diligence, understanding where the perpetrators might be, and then using ISR aircraft to be able to identify more specifically, whether using thermal imaging or any kind of signal surveillance, so we can understand what we're dealing with.
So there needs to be a pre-con. That means you need to pre-analyze the situation before you move in.
Yes.
Do we have that technology to be able to do that? We need satellite, don't we?
We need specific kind of satellite technology from low Earth orbiting satellites called LEOsats. Because they orbit lower, they give up to 4 meters above the ground as far as the intelligence that we can gather. But we still need to go one lower below that, which is to bring in aircraft that will be able to scan that particular region. When you find heat signatures, if you're looking for 40 people, they're going to emit heat unless they've passed away. You'll see animals, you see all sorts of things. Dense forests can play some issues with that, but mostly using thermal imaging and being able to actually identify where those captives are and use that as the intelligence to get the ground troops on the ground to activate. And I think that might be part of what was done to be able to find these 360 people in the Northeast. But I think in what's seeing in the Southwest, it's less problematic because the land is mostly flat, and we'll be able to identify a lot of what's happening using the LEOsats and the ISR aircraft.
But we've got some technologies from Turkey, from partnership with America. Some of those that Donald Trump in his first term, sold to Nigeria under the Buhari administration. The question is whether or not those are helping us, because the question a lot of people will be asking, how you take 300 people, 200 people, 60 people, 40 people on motorbikes, and we're not able to track them. Even if it's because, the last time the guy from the satellite agency was on the program here, he told me that the satellite that Nigeria had orbits every 4 hours. That means that it takes the next 4 hours for you to know, and it can't even give you a real time. It means that, and the president has admitted and almost given approval of commission to say, let's go ahead and get some of these technologies that can give us something close to a real time. Because I know that when the Americans are going to the field, they won't send their elite troops on the ground without almost live to the second satellite intelligence.
Absolutely. So the question is, first identifying where these people are. Of course, you're moving 360 people is not going to be light movement, and they're not fully mechanized. So some people are on foot. You've got tactical vehicles, Hiluxes, etc., moving people. But there has to be a destination. And in that, you should be able to have some kind of signature, some kind of human intelligence. You can't just move people quietly. So we're going to have to find what kind of top view down onto the actual topography that's there. Satellite will do it, but it cannot give you live video. We can't do that. That's why we need ISR aircraft, because they'll be able to loiter, they will be able to hover above and give.
Which country has that technology now?
Well, I mean, Americans have it with the Reaper, the Turkish have it, the British have it. Nigeria could have it. It's not completely something out of our reach. We don't need the kind of dynamic photography that we're going to get from these very expensive aircraft, but we do have drones that are available to the Nigerian Air Force. As you and I have discussed, and as you know, we showed some of our drone warfare activity in Turkey during the Saha Fair, where we have demonstrated that we're actually going to start producing our own ISR drones in Nigeria.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria, yes.
Really?
And the Nigerian Army has invited us to...
That's a private company doing that?
Yes, and in fact, we've recently just joined forces with DICON to show this activity, and they've been really very supportive of this. This is the 163rd year of the Nigerian Army as a land force, and we're celebrating that. We're showing some of these technologies in Port Harcourt on the 4th to 6th of July, showing our drones, our tactical drones that are all going to be made locally, and I think that's the most important thing.
So when you send these drones, it can independently fight. It can deploy and discharge arms, isn't it?
So there are different types of drones. You have an ISR drone, which will give you the intelligence and the surveillance capability. Then you have tactical drones. Some can be lethal. There's lethality with the drones. You've got FPV drones, first-person view drones that can be used. And there are also some new technologies that we've recently shown to the Nigerian Armed Forces that we can use that will give the Nigerian Army a much-needed backup capability using drones, and using them with some lethality in a backup system and also a forward operating system. These are unique. It's a patented product that we have, and we are, as I said, demonstrating this product a month from now just to show what we're doing with the Nigerian Army. I'm
quite interested, and the reason why I'm having this over the last few days, I've focused attention of this program on security and winning the war, especially getting the Nigerian people, the community-based support, other than having Nigerians to enter into despair and depression over what they don't have power or what you need as a people. You got to come together and raise your hope and be able to support, give psychological support to those who have the capacity to fight in the front line. That is the campaign that I started on this channel and on this program, to say we've got to unite against terror. But and the conversation with you tonight is going to be about technology. What are the possibilities? What more can we do in the search and rescue of those oil? What is the terrain like? And you mentioned a few of the equipment that are possible for us to be able to do that. But a lot of Nigerians watching tonight, they don't know how dangerous it is, because people think it's easy peasy for you to get into the enclave of these abductors and extract some of these people. It takes more than that. If not, you're going to lose them. They go in the cover, using some of these abductees as a cover. How dangerous? What are the tactical sensitivity to this kind of operation?
Well, I can't speak to the specific tactics that have been used in the Southwest, and what happened in Oyo was very particular. But, you know, this kind of security is local. We have to find that granular activity from the human intelligence on the ground, and then that escalates to the armed forces. Security is local. That deterrent is very important. When you look at how technology is used in this particular terrain, you know, Senator Ndume said something very interesting: team. And that is the tactics that involve equipping these right people, funding them. Nigerian soldiers are, I say this, and I've said this during the election campaign, that we've got some of the bravest men and women on this continent, and we've liberated many countries. We are being held back by the technology and the funding of that technology, which allows them to have that upper hand. We're still an AK-47 nation, and I've mentioned that before. We need to give them better weaponry. We need to give them the tactics that's needed. We see what's happening in places like Iran, what's happening in Lebanon, where localization and the understanding of what the enemy's capabilities are will help us do much better. And also remember, they don't have the tactical advantage of an air force. I have a younger brother who is heading the Army Aviation department, and he's doing extremely well. And when you look at what they have at their hands, they don't have the necessary equipment. And as a brigadier, I'm sure that he's pulling his hair out. What would be really nice to be able to see is that we're giving that kind of necessary funding to the Army and the Air Force, and also we shouldn't forget the JTF, the police, and the DSS. They need to be under an umbrella. What I'm really excited about is seeing what the NSA's office and this new office with the National Security Advisor, where you can actually decentralize the power, because the void that is being filled is in the vacuum that's left. The interagency conversations, we need the Homeland Security to be able to coordinate that, and I'd say split that into the 6 geopolitical zones with a head that reports to the top. Because if you don't do that, if you don't have state police ready, if you don't have the vigilantes brought in together, if you don't have all these guys co-opted into a system that works, you can't defeat terrorism. And I think that the president has got a way forward. I don't think they're enunciating what they're doing in an eloquent enough way that the people buy into the idea. And I think that, as Senator Ndume said, look, you've taken this 360 people out.
Yeah.
You know where they are. Let's razz the place. Let's go after them with everything we have, so that we give them...
In 2023, you ran to be president. You wanted to be president. As an ex-military person, you've got a training in alternative technologies and modern tactical power. If you have the power, if you were President Bola Tinubu today, and we're facing this kind of insecurity we're facing, what would you do immediately?
Well, immediately, I think you have punitive measures. You've got to show that you have the willingness to take these rascals out. I would not move from that. I would get the Nigerian support for that. I don't think that would be an issue. If you harm another Nigerian, if you are ransoming people, then you're an enemy of the state, and we have to go after them. I would be
brutal.
You'd have to be brutal, because there's no example of
you
brutality.
have to also act according to the law, isn't it?
Yes, but what's the law of warfare? We're in a war. We're not there to pacify anybody. I don't believe in all this converting people that have been militant into... No, a tiger has shown you his stripes. You're going to have to deal with that. If you're going to paint him a different color...
So you're the kind of person who will go into the forest, go into the enemy, just like Nasir El-Rufai once said, wipe them out. Go gun blazing, get your bombs, the best of them, and you're going to be brutal like Donald Trump, who always is a bomb trigger and wants to pull the trigger and get these enemies out. That's the kind of approach.
I think I would certainly not want to describe myself in a Trumpian type of way. I think there is a more sedate and a more calculated way. We have men and women that are willing to do this fight. We need to give them the right equipment. As I said, I like the idea of team that Senator Ndume said. Fund these gentlemen and ladies. Give them the right tools. So we're not funding them enough, right?
Definitely
not. What percentage of our budget goes towards our biggest problem, which is insecurity? Look, insecurity affects even industry. And we've got to also remember, if you're giving these ransom amounts to these people, they don't spend it in the forest. It has to come into the society. Mark the bills. If it's coming from somewhere, you know where it's going. We do that when they're kidnapping people in America. You see, when in some part of the training, you mark the bills so that you know you can trace the funds back. They're not spending the money in the village. So I would use the NSA with, people think the National Security Advisor's office is just about military. The economy is a part of what he's doing. In that office, I would get the NFIU, I'd get CBN, I'd get all the Bureau de Changes, I'd get everybody in this program of trying to identify where those funds are going to. That's part of the security element.
So you support the Americans helping out?
No.
You don't?
No.
You don't think it has worked? Those two strikes and some of the other intelligence that have shared with Nigeria?
Then why do we have an army? We must identify the fact that we must protect our own people. Then if you want to give it to the Americans, then stand back and let everybody go to be a civilian and give the country to America. Look,
but the Americans wanted to help. But they have more superior power. They have better technology. Yes. They are willing, and they say, your people are being killed.
But the Americans came in for a reason that was more about religion rather than trying to help people. That's what the whole premise of 12 Tomahawk missiles at Christmas Day, what's that, Christmas bells? They rang those bells on Christmas Day in the Northwest. And after that, what? Still the Nigerian boots on the ground. We cannot afford to have AFRICOM sitting in Nigeria, because then we become one of those people. We have a Nigerian army. We've been successful in many countries around the world, even to the point where we even had this incredible peacekeeping record. We can't afford to just give up. Fund them, equip them, get them to have a sense of patriotism, and let's figure out how do we defeat a bunch of rascals. They're not an army. They don't have a. They're not wearing uniform. They're ragtag. Yeah. But they are getting coordination. And you're seeing drone warfare coming. Too. They're using drone warfare.
They've got some very strong. Their strength is in the manpower.
And you have a country that has the budget to do it. So
give me
it's
a moment,
willingness.
Prince. We're going to break, but when we come back, our conversation will conclude on how we can the energy power, the alternative energy power, AI. Technology, modern warfare in defeating terror. And this man right here is an ex-soldier, although in his 60s, it doesn't look like. But then we can get experience of Nigerians who know and how we can move forward our country. We'll be right back, everyone, after this break. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. Our closing moment in our conversation with Prince Malik Ibrahim. Thanks so much indeed. We're talking about the power on food, the physicality of our warfare, and employing and deploying kinetic manpower and warfare tactics in defeating these terrorists. But then there is the dimension of the psychological and the emotional technological intelligence that have been put into also swaying people, dragging the young mind. Are there other means possible for us to win in the warfare without having to step onto the battlefield? Well, the battlefield could be in two different ways: the mind and right in the field.
Well, you know, the use of artificial intelligence in warfare now is becoming more and more something we see in everyday life. As you know, I've had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Nurubadu about how AI can affect and be a very useful tool in developing ways in which we can predict and we can ascertain certain trends and human analytics as to what people are doing, movement of people, gathering points, the configuration of maybe cell phone,
what they are saying,
what they're saying. I know that Cyber Center has been built by the NSA's office as well. You look at what's going on with DSS and how they're really working hard towards trying to preempt a lot of these things. But I think we don't have the tools yet. We haven't harmonized the tools of artificial intelligence well enough.
Are we lacking data?
Well, the data is there. It's just collating that data so that it can be predictive. When you aggregate that, once you put AI on top of it, then the predictiveness of it comes to bear. And when you add that with indexing from air patrols, from signal intelligence, you see a signal in the northeast and all of a sudden that person's in Lagos. You got to ask yourself,
do we have this technology that is being that is working for other countries that we can take a lead from?
Well, again, as you know, I've been doing this in different countries. We were in the UAE lately together to see what we're doing with unmanned vehicles and using that to be able to index people. You saw our robotic dogs. We talked about that. As a Nigerian firm, we're very much involved in AI, and we're involved in the unmanned vehicular and other activities. So AI gives us the opportunity to bring that in, and I know that the service chiefs are also looking at that. The Air Force is doing that with us. Also, Navy has looked at our jamming devices. You know, I'm glad to see that the Nigerian Armed Forces are looking at some of the things that we're doing. But if you do not give these people enough tools, the actual readiness to acquire these tools, we won't be able to defeat this scourge.
So, because we need to close now, just in 10 seconds, if you may, if you have the power right now to say, in the alternatives, I mean, outside of kinetics, if you have the ability to be able to make things happen, what would you do differently?
I would certainly
to ensure that this locally, community-wide terror is defeated.
We definitely need to employ human intelligence as much as possible, and then use technology to sort of safeguard that. But it is doable. It's going to take a lot of Nigerian ingenuity and also willingness to go and defeat these people, and it's going to cost money, unfortunately, and we got to secure that first.
Prince Malik Ibrahim is a trained British soldier and a fighter pilot, and who is now into the business of technology and military warfare. Thanks so much indeed for your time. I appreciate it.